It's going to be years before I get a chance to lead an army into battle again, if ever. He shook his head. Life, he said, is about to become much less exciting. November 703 AUC, November 51 BC, Northern Gaul. Caesar had left Antony in charge of 15 cohorts, 2.5 legions, and ordered him to hold down the territory of the Bellovaci, a tribe of the Belgae who had always acquitted themselves admirably in combat. Despite the crushing defeat that Caesar had inflicted on the Gauls at Alesia the previous year, the country was still not entirely pacified. The Bellovaci had, sensibly in hindsight, not fully committed themselves to Vercingetorix, and so had retained enough manpower to muster a large army. Their leaders were Chaereas and an Atrebatian called Commius, who had been a thorn in Caesar's side for many years. Formerly an ally of Caesar during his expedition to Britannia, Commius had helped with the negotiations for the British chieftain Cassivellaunus' surrender, but then had changed his loyalties and switched sides to support the Gallic leader Vercingetorix at Alesia. He had developed an even deeper hatred of the Romans after Caesar's second-in-command, Labienus, had lured him into a trap, assuring him of safe conduct to negotiate a peace, and then attempting to have him killed. But Gaius Volusenus Quadratus, the cavalry officer Labienus had tasked with the assassination, who was now Antony's praefectus equitum, only succeeded in wounding him. A few months previously, Chaereas and Commius had planned an ambush that might have annihilated a large proportion of the Roman forces in Gaul. But Caesar's spies warned him, and he turned the ambush against the Bellovaci, inflicting a heavy defeat in which Chaereas was killed and Commius fled to the Germans. The Bellovaci had sued for peace and given hostages, freeing Caesar's forces for an orgy of near-genocidal slaughter in the territory of the Eburones, revenge for a defeat the tribe had inflicted on Caesar years earlier. Antony had no regrets at being left behind at that time. There was no honor and no thrill in hacking down unarmed farmers and their families. But he was more frustrated when Caesar had marched south to deal with the revolt of the Carducci and Senones tribes, and left him behind to keep watch over the thoroughly cowed Bellovaci. Antony had decided to overwinter in the territory of the Atrebates, near the coast across from which, on a clear day, could be seen the cliffs of Britannia. He settled himself in for a prolonged period of boredom, interspersed with bouts of heavy gambling, heavy drinking, and heavy petting with some of the most alluring of the local courtesans. That evening had in fact included all 3 of his favorite activities that didn't involve holding a sword. He had lost a small fortune gambling on a sure thing in the boxing ring, then won half of it back by challenging the winner of the bet to a drinking match. Given the amount he had drunk, that he was able to not only walk back to his quarters unaided, but also satisfy the voluptuous wife of a local merchant who had been flirting with him outrageously all evening, was a matter of personal pride. That said, the booze had well and truly kicked in when, in the early hours of the morning, there was an urgent knocking at his door. It was the startled yelp from his companion that actually woke him, and the unfamiliar surroundings and the unexpected commotion disorientated him for a few moments. His dream about wrestling Neptune on the rocking deck of a trireme, the sea god having caught him with his wife Salacia, merged with reality to the extent that he gripped the bed to prevent himself being washed overboard. The knocking came again, and he groggily called for whoever it was to enter. The merchant's wife screamed again and disappeared under the blankets just as the door swung open. Gaius Volusenus Quadratus stood stiffly in the doorway, eyes straight ahead, carefully avoiding paying